ديمة خير وعطاء ويمام نقاء وسخاء يا نجما شع فأبهجنا يا شعلة نور وضاء.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Sisters of Sunnah. I'm Marva.
And I'm Yumna.
And today we're going to be talking about the role of Muslim women in Dawah, inviting to Islam. So many people usually assume that it's for like the scholars, the preachers, maybe even public speakers. Like it's the ones that know everything and they're the only ones that should be speaking about it.
Yeah, but I mean, this is actually something that is incumbent upon all of us as Muslims.
Of course, and it's for for men and women to we have the role of spreading the message. It's not, again, only for men and only for women. It's for all of us. Whoever is a Muslim actually has a role of spreading the message and
Absolutely.
like inviting to Islam. And
so maybe we can break it down into three key areas in dawah. And maybe we can start off with personal dawah. So this, leading by example, we can think of it. And there's a beautiful hadith from the Prophet ﷺ where he says, the best of you are those with the best manners. And I think this can be one of the most beautiful forms of dawah in general, of you just, if we follow the principles of Islam, if we live our life according to the Quran and the Sunnah, then we are already being the best example for what Islam is. And so just by leading by example, we are showing people, this is what the character of a Muslim is. And this in itself can invite people to Islam. And even I personally have seen, subhanAllah, friends or friends of friends, come to Islam, and Allah has guided them through this, just seeing other people's character and, people seeing, this is a beautiful religion that teaches people the basic principles of life. And in essence, what is this religion? Just having the best of character. And so, subhanAllah, us just having this can really be an eye-opener for other followers.
Like, if you have, the character of a person that is equal to a good person, you're kind, you're patient, then you are setting a model to people. And if they don't have their surroundings with those kind of people, then you will be shining through and saying, what is this person believing in, that because you reflect what you believe, right? So
Exactly.
if you're there with your act of kindness, even, it will actually maybe affect them in a way that you wouldn't even imagine. So we don't even know who we touch with the way that behave, no one's me behave. So
yeah, and I think subhanAllah, a lot of people think of dawah sometimes in this term of preaching, yes, a very formal, I'm here to tell you about Islam kind of way. And yes, of course, that can be a form of dawah, but part of it is just leading your life with dignity, letting your actions speak for themselves. And subhanAllah, this is one of the easiest forms of dawah to implement that we should all be doing, to begin with. And so a lot of non-Muslims, subhanAllah, have accepted Islam just by seeing the actions of Muslims. And I think one of the most beautiful examples that we can see right now is a lot of non-Muslims in the West have started to learn more about Islam and accepted even Islam after just watching the actions of Palestinians.
exactly.
The way they are carrying themselves with dignity and resilience in the face of horrible atrocities and a genocide. And subhanAllah, this in itself has opened the eyes
It awakened everyone.
of many non-Muslims. And subhanAllah, there's so many people that are sharing, I became Muslim when I started to see this. This is
because they can't believe, what are you believing in that you could still stay strong, through whatever you went through, and you're still saying, alhamdulillah, that's what I think
exactly.
leaves people mesmerized, maybe, because some of the interviews that I saw, it was the woman, she was if I lost my child, I would not be behaving like she is. I think the way, the power that they have, mashallah, subhanallah, it's a huge example, I think, to take, not just for non-Muslims, but even for Muslim, even for ourselves. I don't know, it's
Of course, it's a beautiful kind of message to
yes, it is.
And even in simple things, when we think about your daily interactions, when you're going out about your day, even something as basic as wearing hijab, for example, or, especially if you are not in a Muslim majority country, or if you're in an area where there's not a lot of Muslims, even you just wearing the hijab You know, I remember times being in that kind of environment where that just wearing it kind of sparked conversations about, well, why is that? Why do you wear it? What does it mean? What does it symbolize?
Is it get twisted?
Right. And then I kind of like start to ask other questions. And so even in this, you know, just the basic worship that we go about, subhanAllah, is also like inshallah considered a form of dawah as well. But you know, perhaps we can be a little bit more intentional about it.
Oh, as far as yes. But like you said, when I was little, I had friends, and I wasn't. Right now, I'm living in Turkey, but back then I was in Canada, and I had friends, and it would be like Ramadan, let's say, and I would be fasting, and they would be so supportive, and they would be like so interested in, like, how long are you going to be doing this? And they would ask questions, and some of them even like kind of tried it, like saying, okay, just for one day I'm not going to eat anything either, like, I'll support you. And like,
Solidarity.
exactly, like, I think it really is nice when you support each other as well, like, in that kind of an environment, and kind of showing them like what your deen is, and like, what the purpose is behind everything like that you do, and showing them is it was really nice.
Really. And I think part of it also is like being patient and being willing to have these conversations with people about something that to us maybe seems so basic,
Yes.
or so simple, but you know, to someone who doesn't know or is wanting to learn, you know, being open to having those conversations. I think a lot of times, maybe especially when I was younger, people would ask me, and I'd just be like, the answer to any question was, it's a part of my religion, and that's kind of it.
That's so true.
Right.
Because you would kind of struggle of like, because question after question, like you have to learn to answer. Yeah, it's like, how am I still question it? Let's just part of it. And like, you would end it kind of. Yeah, no, so true.
Right. But when you start those conversations, people like really start to understand. Like, I'll give the example again of the hijab. When people understand like the deeper meaning behind it of, this idea of modesty and how you live your life and not just about the dress, people really, oh, that's beautiful. I didn't know that. It kind of opens their mind to other questions. And so part of it is also like us being open to adding those questions. Sometimes we've all, if you're hijabi, you've gotten the questions of like, do you shower with it on? Well, do you sleep with it on? Do you ever take it off?
Yes, like, are you like at home? Things like that. Like, you never take it out. I'm like, no, that's not the case. Like, no.
Yeah. And so sometimes it's like, well,
but it's still good, because I think when questions like that come, it's really good because it means they are curious. They're like,
exactly.
You're doing it, but like, what are the rules behind you doing it? Because they only see you outside wearing the hijab. So they don't know, like, do you take it, like, at home? Like, how do you wear it at home? Is it like, does it come in like a different shape at home? Like, they don't know it. So I think it's actually nice when they ask. And again, I think the intention of the curiosity is really important. If they're asking with a good intention because they really want to know,
exactly,
then of course, like, it's, I think, much more valuable to us too as well.
Obviously. And it's our intention really to share that.
Exactly, yes.
Absolutely.
And I think with that comes like, family and community dawah. So because it, like, it's our first responsibility to actually teach who are the nearest to us, like the closest to us. That's our like first responsibility. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, each of you is a shepherd and each of you is responsible for his flock. So like as a community and family as well, as a woman, when you think about it, even maybe parenting is playing a huge role here, because when you're the one that's actually kind of setting up a rule or like guidelines to a new generation that is going to be raised. So
like the importance of focusing on our community building as well.
Yes.
And making sure that we're not just, of course it's important to give dawah, but also this hadith in particular, subhanAllah, emphasizes how important it is that we spend our time and energy in our own communities as well.
It's like together, other than like, just
absolutely
living in a shell and being like, okay, because, I think sometimes we do feel like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do in my religion and I don't want to get, like, I don't want to interfere with anything. I just want to be in my shell, doing my rights. Like, I don't want to do any wrong. But that's not how, like, our religion is, like, because we're always supposed to be together, like, coming together and like, so I think it's really important that we stand by each other and we're always supporting each other at the same time as a community, other than just like, thinking of yourself. kind of like, thinking of everyone else as well.
Yeah, subhanAllah. Islam is a very community oriented religion, alhamdulillah. And so this is one of the important things as well, to focus on community, building up the next generation, all of these things is, because that is the continuation of the da'wah as well. Alhamdulillah.
And like, maybe like organizing Islamic classes and, you know, I think it's kind of important to open up your house too as well for like, sohbet. Like, so that like, exactly, like, gatherings. And, I think it's such a beautiful thing if you can take a step like that and opening your house and like, people just coming in and talking about like, what we're living as a religion and what we should be doing and discussing and how we can move forward, how we can actually affect others in a good way. Or I think maybe we talked about it like before about like, with character and personality that like, we actually, if we're close to each other, then we should be able to tell each other's flaws. So maybe we can be supportive in that way too. So the way that we represent ourselves is kind of like dawah, like, that is what it is.
Yeah, it's important to create community spaces where we all feel comfortable, where everyone can feel comfortable, asking questions, learning, and also, like you said, where there are places we are going to benefit each other and improve ourselves as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, same thing like mentorship as well is a big one. I think this point of like opening your house. Doesn't have to be a house. Opening, of course, like your spaces. Just even as a person being available to, of course, again, I'll say I know how important is mentorship of youth. So mentoring younger sisters, especially for young girls, it is so important to have strong female role models that you can look up to, ask questions about deen, about, life in general. And, with the role models, just
exactly. And I don't think there should be any like limits of questions either. Like, I don't think anyone should be ashamed or embarrassed when asking like an older sister about these kind of topics, because when you're learning, you kind of feel ashamed, like, oh, like, I used to already know that and I don't know it, so I don't want anyone to know it. So I don't think anyone should feel that way because you're still learning. So you should ask. And so that's why it's really maybe important when you're mentoring a younger generation is that whatever they come with a question, always be mindful that like, it's okay. Like, they're learning and like, having that kind heart and like the patience, I think is key.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
So it's on us to make sure that we are also, giving off the impression that we are open to these questions. Like, maybe if not, then what am I doing wrong that is giving them the impression that they can't ask me to obey or something like that? Yeah, also true. Something to be aware of. Alhamdulillah. And then maybe the third type we can shift to intellectual and public dawah. So this is about like sharing knowledge and inspiring change. And throughout Islamic history, many women have been involved in this form of like intellectual dawah. As scholars or educators, and one of the best examples is the Prophet ﷺ's wife, Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her. She was one of the greatest scholars of her time, and she taught so many companions, both men and women, and shared a lot of this invaluable knowledge. So as women also, we have this role in terms of intellectual dawah as well, and that can be in terms of research, writing articles, books, works of scholarship to continue to, teach others about Islamic knowledge, whether it's public speaking, engaging in like dawah activities, and that, we talked about in the first sense of like, dawah, it's preaching. Sometimes, whether it's, whether it's in that sense, perhaps opening masajids to non-Muslims and sharing that information with them from, of course, having done the research and, making sure this information is sound. And also for all of us to continue to pursue that Islamic scholarship. So recognizing our limitations and knowing that it's a constant, obligation upon all of us, men, women, regardless, to continue to learn more about our deen and pursue this scholarship.
And at least spread as much as like, we can maybe.
Absolutely.
Like it's like, it's not easy, I think, because like you're trying to, like dawah kind of means like saying that like kind of talking about like Islam and the rights and how beautiful it is. And I think when you are a Muslim, you want everyone to be Muslim because you know how beautiful it is and you know the privileges it brings with it. So you just want everyone to be part of it, So I think when doing that, again, like you're like the way that you do it is really important. Like not like demanding way, or like, really being an understanding person. Like, I don't really know how I can actually like put it into words, but as a behavior, instead of pushing it to someone, or just kind of maybe, that's why I said demanding, like always saying it. But no, it's really like, I think it's literally the way you act, like the way that you actually, I think, even sit, stand, speak. Like if that gets someone's attention, saying like, what are they believing in? Like, that
It comes
like
back so personal with Dawah, and
exactly, yes. So it's not easy, but it is a must, from time to time, I guess. Like,
and I think this is something that, there are always, things that we can be learning even about like the right ways to give dawah. So again, comes back to this last point about continued scholarship and, continuing to learn different ways that we can continue to take part in this obligation of us to share the message of Islam.
straight out.
So with that, I think we can go ahead and wrap it up there. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for this episode of Sisters of Sunnah. Inshallah, we will see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.
يا ديمة خير وعطاء ويمام نقاء وسخاء يا نجما شع فأبهجنا يا شعلة نور وضاء يا ديمة خير وعطاء